Hello, my name is Corey Barnett, and today I'll be talking about the wisdom of living according to myself. Before I get into any details, I'd like to introduce myself. I am a senior exercise science major here at Mount Union, where I was also the kicker for the last 4 years. Although my senior year did not really end how I thought it would, I am still looking forward to beginning another chapter here at Mount Union as I enter the physician assistant program beginning in the middle of May. So no in-person classes, no baseball games, no graduation, and no parties. There's really no normal to which to compare to or to return to. So the world today offers one the chance to learn how to be instead of focusing on what needs to be done. The new world today provides opportunity to tap into experiences that can open one's eye to realities, relationships, and the world. The new world today offers the chance to experience and gain wisdom, something not everyone has the ability to achieve. So, the wisdom of living according to Corey Barnett is a glimpse of the new world. By experiencing nature, journeying into silence and solitude, focusing on self, and reflecting on the nature of life and death, I was better able to establish the primary and foundational values of my life. So, one of the most fundamental values in life is the understanding that wisdom can come through nature. I wasn't one that paid much attention to nature other than if I was freezing on the sidelines or really sweaty during summer workouts. So, when the stay at home order started, I began to appreciate nature and its ability to provide self awareness, requiring us to be conscious of our role and place. Native Americans believe that nature supports and sustains life. These people rely on the land and nature for all their basic needs, such as food, shelter, and guidance. But how can nature provide guidance? Let's consider what Buddha said. Nothing in nature blooms all year. Be patient with yourself. After spending these 45 days really studying and observing nature, I now know that nature can impart a lot of wisdom. I watch buds appear on trees, flowers coming out of the ground, and animals moving around. What I noticed was that humans had nothing to do with what happened in nature. Nature had a way of taking care of itself. Our role, and specifically my role, in this universe is very small. Instead, our role is assisted by nature. Nature fosters humility, instills reverence, and cultivates resilience. Just as the trees struggle to produce buds, I need to be accepting of my faults. The slow budding trees aren't judged, and I shouldn't judge myself for the shortcomings. The tree didn't give up, but showed improvement every day, just as I should focus on the positive qualities rather than the negative outcomes in my life. Nature doesn't have anyone else to rely on to continue to develop and produce, a phenomenon leaving me feeling a great amount of respect. If nature can battle back time after time, I can learn how to battle back as well. Maybe Walter Hagen was onto something when he said humans should really take time to stop and smell the roses. After all, nature has so much wisdom to share when one takes the time to listen in silence and in solitude. So, being able to listen means being comfortable alone and in silence. Two very radical concepts as they challenge every aspect of our being. A powerful image is the jar of river water. When the jar is shaken, the water is musky. Things are randomly floating around and nothing in the jar makes sense. My life was very similar to that jar when shaken, especially before this pandemic occurred. There were so many things fighting for my time, I was trying to do them all. I was constantly busy, never alone, and just starting to lose myself. Even though I thought I had things in control, I really did. After listening to an audible book about silence and solitude, I tried the sitting alone in silence. I couldn't even make it 5 minutes before I thought I was going to go crazy. My mind wouldn't shut off. I started to make to-do lists. I felt more out of control sitting there. I was confused, bothered, jumbled. I was dangerously tired. And when one is dangerously tired, they are not quite sure what is going on, but something doesn't feel right. When that happens, the person better pay attention. The soul is strained and runs a great risk of destruction. It wasn't physical exhaustion, but more like I was missing something. I decided to keep trying, and what I found was myself looking more for God. inviting God into my life to become more about Him and less about me. Like that jar of river water, when shaken up, it's hard to see the contents, but when settled, everything becomes more distinct and makes more sense. As Mother Teresa once said, it is the silence of the heart that God speaks. I was able to focus with the silence and solitude. I was able to connect with myself. Understanding wisdom through learning about oneself means knowing there are millions of individuals with different views with the same independence and freedoms. Buddha suggests to only believe in something after you have tested it in your own heart and found it to be true. Experiencing things firsthand. Have a self-awareness and willingness to ask what is true. Try things firsthand. Learn to interpret the behaviors of others to avoid automatic reactions. Wisdom of self is a state of mind. The introspection offers a path to greater happiness, a greater chance of avoiding errors in dealing with others, and a greater chance of formulating life choices. Understanding and gaining wisdom of self means embracing life as well as death. Death plays a role in the willingness to live life. Does that even make sense? It surely didn't make sense to me until I came across the Schlitz beer ad campaign. The tagline for the beer was, "You only go around once in life, so grab for all the gusto you can." At first, I thought gusto was all the good stuff in life, such as women, sports, beer, money, and cars, stuff like that. However, after spending time learning about wisdom, I think the ad actually uses death as a means to persuade beer drinkers to enjoy life. Seems a little bit deep for a beer ad, but the book Job might help explain it a little better. So the book of Job starts out with a wealthy man, a lot of livestock, children, good health, and fear and loyalty to God. Satan and God had a conversation. Satan is convinced the only reason Job is loyal to God is because he has a good life. God tells Satan to challenge Job. Job loses everything and gets sores all over. And after a time, Job starts to whine to God. God can only stand so much whining for so long before he reminds Job who is the God. God reminds Job he can see farther, deeper, and more clearly than any other. Job quits complaining. He realizes that God means for him to show up, listen to people, and be fully present. Death is unavoidable. You must power through the lows, enjoy the highs, and experience everything life hands to you with no regrets. We need to grab the reality of death and fullness of life and embrace them in a bear hug. Wisdom, after all, not only comes from reflecting on life and death, but from nature as well, through the silence and solitude and learning about ourselves. I miss going to my classes, I miss watching my friends compete in sports, and I'm not happy about not being able to walk across the stage to receive my diploma. I am sure I would have enjoyed seeing everyone at my graduation party, but I know life may never be the same. But through my experiences with nature, sitting silently alone, figuring out what my values are, what was missing in my life, and by realizing that death is inevitable, I have come to understand and know myself. I have gained insight into the wisdom of living.